out of a nice warm bed. Well, folks, reached a milestone. Finally got 1,000 subscribers. YouTube. Yee! I'm actually pretty amazed at how quickly they piled up. Just within the last week, I think I got like 12 or 13, which I haven't been doing anything with my channel, so I was kind of actually surprised at that. But I'm not really in a position right now to make any videos. Several different reasons, but I'll get to that later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer most common questions that I get asked. I've been wanting to do this for a while, I just haven't really had a chance to do it. So I figured this would be a good time to do it. Number one question that I get asked a lot is, why do I drive a scooter when it's obvious I can walk? Well, the reason for that is, yes, I can walk. And there are a few days each summer that I can even ride a bike, but the problem is I can't walk very far. The illness that I have, it prevents me from doing anything for any length of time, basically. Even like sitting still, I can't do for a long period of time. So the illness that I actually have, and that's second question is what do I actually have? I have fibromyalgia. Now, those with fibromyalgia out there that are watching this, you will understand. It's not a fun, it's not even called a disease, it's a syndrome, I guess you could say. But it brings on a whole host of problems. It's different every day. I don't know what to expect. Different aspects of it will affect me differently, and one will be stronger one day than it will the next, and the next day it'll be something else, and it's just a whole host of problems that just, yeah, make your life miserable. So, what causes fibromyalgia? Nobody really knows that for sure, but there are some common contributing factors that seem to be linked to it, and I wrote down a list here because one of the problems with the fibromyalgia is my memory and my thought process and that, so I'll get into that too. But I made a list here of what they have attributed to causing, and one of them is a recent surgery, a major change in your life, a recent sickness, major sickness, some bad sickness, not just like, a cold or anything, a major loss or traumatic event, and stress. Well, when I first got it, store manager where I was working, she actually told me more about what fibromyalgia is than the doctor actually did, which really was not the way it's supposed to be. But I didn't actually have a family doctor at that time. I just was going to emerge because, well, no other reason. Basically, I needed notes for work to explain what was going on. So it was a different doctor each time. I had to keep explaining what was happening to each different one, and it was a real pain. Eventually I got a real doctor, or a family doctor, not a real doctor, but a permanent doctor, and he turned out to be, you know, really good in this field. He understands it. So I'm going to go through this list again, and I'm going to explain. So, a recent surgery. When I go for my bike rides, I prefer to go out on rainy nights. At night, anyways, it's cooler. I don't have to worry about the sun beating down on me and overheating, and there's fewer people around, less traffic. So it's a safer time to ride, as far as I see it. And I always love rainy nights, and biking in the rain at night. I just love it. So, anyways, I was out one night, and I was driving past the river, and I decided I was going to go for a swim. And normally I'm prepared for that, but this one particular night I wasn't. So I didn't have my water shoes with me, so I ended up going in barefoot, and I stepped on something. I don't know if it was glass, sharp stone, or clamshell. I'm guessing the clam, because the South Saugeen River has a lot of clamshells in it, and they get broken. They're pretty sharp. It's like breaking ceramic, and you get really super sharp edges. So anyways, I cut my foot, and I cut it really bad, right in the arch. And I went to the hospital, had it cleaned out. Didn't need stitches. It was any worse or any deeper than I would have, but at that time I just decided, you know, it wasn't too bad. The problem is, I'd say maybe a year later, I had the lump in the arch of my foot. Every once in a while it would bother me, and it'd be itchy or something, so I'd start rubbing it, and I could feel this lump. And I'd completely forgotten about, you know, the injury that I had there. It healed up so well, no scar from it or anything, and I'd forgotten about it. But this lump was getting worse, and then at some points when I was working, I was on my feet when I was working, and every once in a while it would start to hurt if I moved my foot in a certain way. So now looking at it, and whatever this lump was, it was underneath my skin. I wasn't sure what it was. So I went to the hospital, and they did a ultrasound test on it, and the girl's looking at it on the screen, and there's this tiny little white speck that's in there, and she says it almost looks like a grain of sand. And as soon as she said that, it reminded me. It's like, oh yeah, I had cut my foot in the river in that spot, and when it was cleaned out, apparently they missed a single grain of sand, and apparently I was growing a pearl. There was this lump of scar tissue that was growing around it, or whatever you call it. And the reason I was getting pain was because it was trying to attach itself to a tendon. So I didn't have a choice. I had to have it removed. I had to have surgery to have it removed. So that was my surgery, and that was, I think, exactly December 19th, 2005. So that was the recent surgery. A major life change. I was living in a 17-foot travel trailer at the time. I lived in it for 3.5 years at the edge of a field where my friends were living at the time, and I loved it. I'd love to go back to doing that again. Problem being is I was heated with propane in the wintertime. When it gets really cold, I could go through a tank in like 2 days, and that's the 60-pound tank. That's the really big ones, not the barbecue tanks, which I think, I don't even remember, they're 30 or 40 pound. I can't remember. I think 30. I'm not sure. These are the really big ones. The 60-pounders. And I go through one of those in a couple of days when it's really, really super cold. And the problem with that is I have to have that propane ahead of time. So I had 2 tanks. I always made sure one was full. And of course, when I ran out, it was in the middle of the night. You know, I'd wake up freezing cold trailer, so I have to get out of a nice warm bed, put on cold clothes, go out into the cold, and change this, and come back. And my furnace wasn't really all that great for lighting when it was cold like that. It took a long time to get it heated up to the point where it would stay on. So that part I don't miss. The weather was a real issue for me. That's kind of where I developed my fear of tornadoes at the time. Because every time we got a bad storm, I'm thinking to myself, is this the one, you know, that's going to blow me across the field? So I developed a fear of wind from living in there, but other than that, I really enjoyed it. So anyways, it got to the point where I needed to make a change. I needed to move into a permanent structure, just to, you know, get away from those fears. So somebody offered me his basement, and a co-worker that I was working with turned out to be not such a great guy, but you know, it was something. At that time, it was a good thing. So it was end of December, beginning of January, something like that. I'm on crutches, and I'm having to move all my stuff. It was interesting to say the least. We had the driveway we were living at was really long. I'm not sure, several hundred feet long, anyways, and it get really plugged up with snow in the wintertime. And at this particular point, I wasn't able to drive down the laneway, so my car was parked by the road. So basically, I was walking across the field with my crutches, pulling a toboggan that was tied around my waist, rope tied around my waist, pulling the toboggan across the field, and that's how I moved. So it was that, and that was my major life change. Things got really bad from that point on, I guess you could say. So before I moved, just before Christmas, or actually at Christmas, I went to visit my parents for Christmas, and when I came home, my cat was having a problem. He couldn't pee. He'd go into the litter box, and he'd try to pee, and he'd just meowing, like it was really painful for him, and he wouldn't pee. So anywhere he was walking, he was dribbling. He was dripping all over the place. So I took him to the vet. He had crystals in his urine, so they prescribed this special cat food for him. I can't think of what it was called now, but it was expensive. I had to get it from the vets. And my cat, Nikita, he was a chartreux, and chartreux are known for having bad kidneys, and maybe every month or two he'd get sick for about a week, and he'd be throwing up all the time because of the toxins building up, and then he'd be fine for a while, for another month or two, and it would happen again. So this isn't related to kidneys, I don't think, but you know, it was still a problem for him. So I got that solved and started him on this new food when I moved to the new place. And then I got sick, and I got the worst flu that I think I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely horrible. It totally destroyed me for at least a week. I'm not even sure what I was going to say there. But during this time, I had a month off of work. I had a month of sick pay that I had built up, so it was perfect timing as far as that goes. So that was my sickness. And then right after, Nikita's kidneys failed. And being a non-skilled worker. You know, I'm working minimum wage jobs, doing whatever I can and that. So anytime I had an issue with one of my cats, it always came down to money, and this was no different. There was medication that I could give him, but it was beyond what I was making. It was beyond my wages. So I had to make the toughest decision of my life. I had to have him put down. He was my best friend for 11 years, and he was, if you know anything about chartreuse, they're totally loyal. They're like, not like dogs, but they're loyal like dogs. They stick with you. They got to be part of whatever it is that you're doing. And the thing that makes me laugh most about him was when somebody knocked at the door, he'd be there before I would. He knew somebody was there, and he'd go running to the door before I even had a chance to get up, which was kind of funny. So that was my major loss or traumatic event. And stress, well, I was working for Walmart at the time. Enough said. Lots of stress there. Plus, living in that trailer, worrying about the weather, worrying about whether I'm going to have enough money to pay for propane. There was so much stress in my life. Plus, a lot of things from the past as well. So, every one of these factors that they contribute to, causing fibromyalgia, I had them all within that time period, and beginning of February is when my symptoms began. First thing I noticed was I just felt like I wasn't getting enough sleep. It didn't matter if I slept 8 hours or 18 hours, it didn't make any difference. It just felt like I wasn't getting enough sleep. Then I started getting headaches, really bad headaches, and a really sore neck. If you ever get a kink in your neck, and you turn your neck like this, and you hear a snap, and that pain goes away, well, that's kind of what it's like, but I don't get that snap, and the pain stays. And whenever I move my head like this, it sounds like I'm rotating on gravel. It's very uncomfortable, and the longer I sit in one position, the worse that gets. Excuse me. So, I knew something wasn't right at that time. Normally, I don't get headaches. The only time I really get a headache is when I have caffeine withdrawal. If I have 2 or more Tim Hortons coffees one day, and the next day that's when I'll get my headache, my caffeine withdrawal. So I knew something wasn't right. And then I was sitting at my computer, and I had to use the washroom, but I wanted to finish what it was I was doing. And it was getting kind of tense. It was getting kind of tense, so I had to go. So as soon as I stood up, it let go. I couldn't hold it. It just let go, and that's never ever happened in my life. So at this point, I went back to the doctor and started looking at me, and they tested different things. They tested my sugar levels. They tested vitamin D, I think it was. Just different things, and they couldn't find anything. So things started getting worse and worse and worse, and I started losing time from work, and eventually I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And the problem is you don't just get it and then it's there. It starts off noticeable, I guess you could say, and it kind of gradually gets worse and worse, and causes all kinds of problems, such as stuttering. If you notice, like right here, I'll be talking and all of a sudden I'll just forget what I was talking about. That's never happened to me before. I've never had a problem talking. I'll have a perfect thought in my head, and as soon as I go to speak it, something gets mixed up between my brain and my mouth, and it comes out different. Sometimes I'll catch it, sometimes I won't. Maybe an example, one of my videos, actually, when I was talking about the safety issue with the monster, if you have to swerve and stop, the tire comes off the ground and the scooter doesn't stop until that tire comes back down, because it'll actually spin backwards. And I was comparing it to having your car on a jack, changing a tire. You have to have the wheels chalked to keep the car from moving, because as soon as you lift one wheel off the ground, the other one's free to turn. That's the way differentials work. And what I meant to say was changing a tire on your car, and I had said changing a car on your tire. That's kind of one of the ways that I get things all mixed up.
A good example here, after this truck goes by, hit full throttle, and a really tight corner, let off the throttle, and it kept going. It didn't stop until I straightened out and the wheel came back down. The reason for that is just the way differentials work. Scooters have differentials in the back end too, so both wheels can spin at different speeds when you're turning. Typical stuff. But because of that, when you turn a corner with one wheel off the ground, that wheel that's off the ground, if the scooter's trying to stop, that wheel will actually spin backwards. And if you have ever changed a car on your tire, you know, front tires, no big deal, but if it's a rear-wheel drive car and you have to jack up the back end, you have to put blocks in the front wheels for that reason, because with one wheel off the ground, there's nothing to stop that other wheel from spinning.
A lot of times, like I say, I'll catch that, but that particular time I didn't, until I was actually making the video. That's when I noticed it. So there's that, and sometimes I'll say something that doesn't even make sense. No, not even words. I'll make a noise that while I'm talking, that's supposed to be a word. I was thinking of it, but that's not how it came out. So there's that problem there. That also ties into memory issues. I can remember years and years ago when I was basically an infant in my crib. I remember standing there, I wanted out. My dad was in the washroom shaving at the time, and nobody would let me out, so I started swearing, and my dad came in around to bar soap in my mouth. I remember that so vividly. But if you ask me what happened yesterday, not a clue. Not a clue. So there's the short-term memory issues. It's one of the reasons why I made cue cards for today, because there's no way I can remember everything that I want to say. That's just one of those things that happens. I think the biggest issue that I have, and the reason I'm driving the Monster here, or any scooter, is fast exhaustion. I can walk, I can do strenuous activity for a very limited period of time. I get exhausted very fast. A good example of that would be in wintertime. One of the reasons I hate winter is because I have to put on so much to go out. I prefer shoes and boots that I don't have to tie, because the less time I spend squatting down, the easier it is to get back up. Because for whatever reason, when I bend my legs, they don't like to straighten again, and I barely have the strength to lift myself back up. And put my snow pants on, my snow boots, and my heavy winter coat, and by the time I'm ready to go, I'm too exhausted to move. It's so fast. It takes so much out of me so quickly. And I have extreme weakness, especially in my hands. I don't have a whole lot of grip strength. When you see me lifting the batteries out of the scooter or whatever, you can see my hands, my fingers are wrapped completely around the handles. The only way I can lift anything is to have my fingers clenched like that, because if I try to lift the weight, I just do it this way. If I try to lift the weight like this, I don't have the strength in my fingers to do it, so I have to wrap completely around, and then I have a limited amount of time that I can actually carry something. And those batteries they're just killers, I'll tell you. They're so heavy. But to me, a 2 bottle liter of pop. A 2 liter bottle of pop, and it's got that little ridge on the top to grab. I have to wrap my fingers around it. I cannot lift it. I cannot clench tight enough to lift that by that top. I have to actually I can pull it up a little bit and get my hand underneath it, then I can support with my other hand, and I'm good that way. But I don't have the strength. A good example that pretty much anybody could understand. If you have a 2-liter bottle of pop, try to lift it up, and you'll see it doesn't take a whole lot of effort, but if you don't have the grip strength in your fingers, you can't do it. And it's probably the best example I can come up with that everybody can relate to. And I've also talked about the pain. Right now, sitting here, I'm not too bad, because I am moving my head around, I'm talking and moving my arms or whatever, but a lot of times in my videos when I was doing the rail trail, you'll see me take a break, I'll get up and walk around and have a smoke or whatever. That is my break from sitting, basically. Because you wonder, and if you drive a scooter yourself, you wonder, why would you need a break? You're sitting there, you're not doing anything. So, that's it. That's why, because I can't sit in the same spot for a long period of time. I get stiff. Oh, excuse me. I have limited time sitting at the computer for the same reason. I've explained this before, but I have a website in my computer. I have Apache web server installed in my computer where I run my own website within my computer that automates everything, pretty much everything that I do every day. It saves so much time, and it can work in the background while I'm doing other things. So it's a real time saver, but it makes use of PHP, which is awesome, but it's not difficult. I self-taught myself, basically. I need to know how to do something, so I'll Google it, and there's so much information on the internet about how to use PHP and that. I won't use it on my own website anymore, because external website, timecapture.ca, because I'm not good with the security features of it. If you don't have certain security protocols in place, and it's so easy for hackers to take over your site, anybody with PHP knowledge, and that's what was happening. That's why I gave up my site originally, because I get tired of it. So I'm just self-conscious talking to the camera, so every time I hear a noise I make sure there's nobody around. We're a couple of fishermen over there under the bridge. I don't see them now, so I don't know where they are. I'm just self-conscious, that's all. So that's why I take breaks. So I talk, oh yeah, when I was sitting at the computer, when I was living in Hanover, my bed was my computer chair, basically. The computer was at the end of the bed, and when I needed to change position, I just lay back for a while, and a lot of times I'd fall asleep that way. And sometimes that's the only way I could fall asleep. I'll get to that part, that's another problem. When I'm driving a scooter in the winter time, I'm really, really bundled up. I got so much on. Like I said, I have to put so much on, and the reason I have to put so much on is because I'm really susceptible to the cold. If you're walking, it's in the wintertime, you're walking to the store or something, you're moving your muscles, you're getting exercise, you're generating your own heat, and you're keeping yourself warm. But when you're sitting on a scooter, aside from holding yourself up and steering, you're really not doing anything, so you're not generating heat, so you tend to get colder. So that's why I bundle up so much. And you'll see me in the wintertime, I get very little skin exposed. A lot of times it's just part of my face, and that's all you can see. So that's why, because of that. I think the scariest part of my illness is power failures. I don't know how to explain them. It's kind of like somebody will flick a switch and turn you off, and just down to the ground you go. This was one of the reasons I had to quit working. It happened to work several times, and it was so dangerous, especially if I'm carrying something, just no warning whatsoever. All of a sudden my legs would just quit and down I go. And this actually happened at lunch. I wasn't doing anything strenuous. We were standing outside, I was leaning against the door, and all of a sudden my legs gave out and I just dropped. And that was it. I was done for the night. So that was the scariest part for me. I was worried driving a car. If it had happened, I wasn't sure, how I would respond to that. But it did actually happen. I was going to visit my parents. I was out on the highway, and all of a sudden I just went limp. It's like, oh. But I managed to pull over on the side of the road, and everything was fine. I was still able to manage the car. If I was on like a 400 highway or something, multi-lane highway at high speed, things might have been a bit different. So it worried me. But they tend to last only about half hour, at the most a couple hours. I have driven on the multi-lane highway since, and the problem with that is I get nervous, and the faster I go, the harder I hold the steering wheel. I get really tense, and the harder I hold the steering wheel, the faster my arms get weak, and I avoid them. Anytime I can take back roads now, excuse me, that's what I'll do. I'll take the back roads. I don't even like double lane highways anymore. Excuse me. I listen to my voice talking too much. There must be a bird in a tree making that noise. So there's that. I normally don't show... Oh, actually, I'll get to that part later. Another problem is sleep issues. There are periods of time, no matter what I do, I can't sleep. I'll try and try and try, and after a few hours, my legs, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of related to restless leg syndrome, but it's not exactly the same thing. I'll get kind of an ache in my ankle, I guess, and if I rotate my ankle kind of like this for a little bit, it goes away, and about 30 seconds later it comes back again. There's absolutely nothing I can do about it except get up and walk around. That's the only way I can do it. So once that happens, I know I'm not going to sleep. So that's an issue. And then there's other periods where I can't stay awake. All I'm doing is sleeping. And another problem that fibromyalgia causes is depression. And I'll tell you, not being able to sleep and not being able to stay awake amplifies that depression a lot, I'll tell you. So I've always had a problem with depression, but with the fibromyalgia, it amplifies it, and it makes it so much worse. There's another one. I can't remember what it was. There's actually I'll get to that one. I'm skipping one. The vision problems. Well, you can't see me now, but because I wear my sunglasses when I'm out, and I'm surprised I'm actually be able to read my cue cards. But I do wear glasses because I can't see anything up close anymore. So my eyes are really bad, and they're so bad. Even with my glasses, sometimes it's just my eyes are so bad. And if I'm wearing them and I'm reading something up close and I take them off, everything's blurry. Even distant stuff is blurry, and sometimes I'll turn my eyes and one eye will decide it doesn't want to move right away, and it'll take a second to catch up. Most of the time that's only when I wake up. That's when my vision's the worst, and my eyes just don't want to work for a while. It's horrible, and it's scary. Of all the senses to lose, I think eyesight would be the one that would affect me the most. I would have a hard time living without my eyesight. I don't know what I would do without that. So the other problem, which I was trying to remember, I don't remember what it was, but it's a female problem. It goes, other than that, every problem that fibromyalgia brings with it, I didn't get them all at first, but they gradually, I'm getting more and more. I pretty much got all of them now. I forgot one. I didn't have it written down here. Irritable bowel syndrome. You have to use the washroom. You know you have to go. You got time. You know, if somebody's in the washroom, you can wait or whatever. Even if it's almost the emergency point, you know, or you gotta go and you start doing the dance, you know, and you get time. With me, I get notice that I have to go now, because it's I can't really explain it without getting kind of graphic, but when I have to go, it wants out. I can't hold it. So if I can't get to the washroom right away, it's coming out anyways. And when I do sit on the toilet, always starts as diarrhea and ends with constipation. I can't take anything for the diarrhea because it makes the constipation worse. I can't do anything about the constipation because it makes the diarrhea worse. There's nothing I can really do. And it's like that every time. Every time, every day. And with fibromyalgia, every day is different. Like I've said before, you never know what to expect, because one of the aspects will be stronger on one day, and then the next day something else will be stronger. But the irritable bowel syndrome, it's constant. It's always there. So, if there's anything good about fibromyalgia, it has remission periods. And it's basically, it's a period of time when it doesn't affect you. Minus the irritable bowel syndrome, like I say, that's always there. But there's a period of time where I don't get exhausted quite as fast. I have a little extra strength. I have the ability to stay awake longer and get stuff done. Most of the time that's in the summer. As you see in my videos, a lot of work that I'm doing is in the summertime. Unfortunately, if I overexert, I will bring that remission period to an end rather abruptly, as I've shown. The problem with the end period is when it comes back, it always comes back worse. And it's almost always in September, in the fall. Normally September, but always in the fall. And one of the questions I have here is, how can I do the things that I do in my videos? Well, this is where I'm explaining that part of it. Most of the stuff you see I'm doing is in the summer. When I have, at the beginning of summer, it seems to be mild. The remission seems to be mild, where I can get some things done. But towards the end of the summer, that's when it gets really good, and that's when I'm doing most of the stuff. And when it does affect me, you don't see it because I don't show that in my videos. I try not to show my illness, how it affects me, in my videos. I have done it once, when I was building the shelter, the temporary structure. Day 17, when I declared it complete, I have a power failure. I knew I had been exerting a lot. I knew that. I knew that my remission period was going to come to an end because of what I was doing. But I needed to get that done before winter. I didn't have a choice. So I pushed myself, and I pushed myself. And there's a breeze coming here, so I'm hoping you can hear what I'm saying. Hoping the wind noise in the camera isn't too bad. I don't have my voice recorder because I can't charge it. But I had to get things done, and I ended up having a power failure because of it. So that one I did show. I think the reason I showed it was to show why I finished that project, or why I declared that project finished. But a lot of things that I do, it'll take me a day or two to recover from. I may have to make subtitles for this video because breeze, it feels good. But I imagine it's making a lot of noise in the microphone and the camera. So that's why you see me doing things in the video that you would think I couldn't do. Basically, when I'm finished doing those things, I go in the house, I'm done. I can't do anything else. I get one good project a day, and that's it. And the longer I carry that project out, then the worse it is for me. When I do my bike rides, like I said, maybe 2 or 3 times out of the year I'm able to do that. When I do those, I'm in bed for 3 days after. It takes a long time to catch up from that, and you don't see that in my videos. And I don't like to show that. I get so much flack from people saying that, you don't really have a disability, you're this, you're that, you're what's the word? Scamming people or whatever. That's why you think that, because you don't see how it affects me. And that goes back to, why am I driving a mobility scooter? Well, it's, I drive it, it's my transportation. To me, a scooter is not a wheelchair. It's transportation. People who need wheelchairs have wheelchairs. They have power chairs, which are wheelchairs that are powered, which do the same thing as a scooter. But with a scooter, most people, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but most people who have a scooter can walk. Just walk limited. There's a lady that lived on the same street I did in Hanover. Some days I'd see her walking. She'd walk maybe 25, 30 feet, then stop and take a break. And she'd walk another 20, 30 feet to stop and take a break. And she's taking a shopping cart with her. Those are the days that she can actually walk. Other days, I see her driving a scooter. It depends on the day that you're having, what your energy level is, what your illness is. And, it's like, there are people who don't have a driver's license. And if they get injured or whatever, or even just old age and you just can't walk that far anymore, that's where the scooters come in. It doesn't mean you can't walk. It just means you can't walk far. And I don't know how the stereotype came up, and this is not my words. I am quoting what I hear. People think that scooters are for fat, lazy people. That's what the stereotype is, and that really bothers me, because that is not the case. I think a lot of what has to do with that is Walmart with their scooters. They provide scooters for people, for their customers who need them, and the majority of the time it is heavy people using it. And unless you are a heavy-set person, you don't know what it's like to walk. You don't know how they got to the store to begin with. They may even have a disability. Just because they're large doesn't mean they can't walk. It just, or can't drive, or whatever. It makes it easier to get around the store. That's what the scooters are there for, to help customers get around the store. It doesn't matter what your illness is, what your size is. It doesn't matter. The point I'm making is, a scooter is transportation. It's not a wheelchair. And I can't stress that enough. Of all the questions, or all the comments that I hear, that's probably the one that bothers me the most. People think scooters are wheelchairs, and because a person can walk and they're driving a scooter, they're scamming. People that know me know why I drive my scooter. They know I'm not scamming anybody. I bought the scooter with my own money. I pay for the repairs when I can. I pay for whatever I can pay for. I'm not scamming anybody. I'm not pretending to not be able to walk. It's my transportation. I lost my car. It committed suicide at the time. Excuse me. It wasn't long after I got sick. My credit rating took a serious nosedive. I had no credit whatsoever at the time. I was still in debt, I think, at the time. I couldn't get help getting a car loan, so I couldn't get another car. So with the scooter, place that I got my original one, my ES950, they do their own financing, which was great. So that's how I got my first scooter. I got a bank loan for the Monster, which I'm regretting. But I pay for it myself. There are agencies out there that can help. There's church groups out there that can help, but the problem with them, there's a lot of red tape to go through, and I just got tired of it. When I first started, after I lost my car, I bought a bike. I was able to ride my bike around town for a while. As I say, my illness gets worse and worse. I started using my roommate's scooter every once in a while, and it just got to the point where I decided, rather than wearing hers out, I might as well just get my own. So I started looking into it, and the place that I bought mine, they actually rent them. So I rented mine first for the first 8 months, and I realized, I need it. So I ended up buying it. So, that's it. If I could afford a car, I would be driving right now. I would be driving a car. I'm still a fully licensed driver. I would be driving a car. So that leads me to another question. Why am I driving on the road? Okay. When you're driving a mobility scooter, you're classed as a pedestrian. Okay. If you are not on a sidewalk, or if you are on a road that does not have a sidewalk, you're supposed to drive on the left-hand side towards traffic, same as if you're walking. I don't know if it's law that you're supposed to walk on the left, but it's a smart thing to do if you're walking on a road. Walk towards traffic, you can see what's coming. Fibro fog, another thing I forgot. I just totally lose track of what I'm talking about. That's known as fibro fog, or symptom of fibromyalgia. Okay. I was driving on the road one time, shortly after I got my ES 950, and there's that wind again. And the police officer told me that I should be on the sidewalk. That's when he told me I'm classed as a pedestrian, I should be on the sidewalk. And if there is no sidewalk, that's when I'm supposed to be on the left-hand side of the road. So, I did try. I'll get to the sidewalk part later, but I did try driving on the left-hand side of the road. You'll see that in some of my videos. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. The problem with that is I still drive. I rent cars now and then when I need to go somewhere. So I do still drive. I am still a fully licensed driver. Driving on the opposite side, I'm not going to say the left side because a lot of my viewers are from UK and Australia where it's opposite from what we are. So I'll just say driving on the opposite side of the road is very unnatural. I had a really, really hard time doing it. And one of the problems, and this is also a problem if you're on the sidewalk, is if somebody comes up on your left and is turning right in North America, actually I'll explain it differently for the other place, but in North America, drive on the right hand side, and if somebody comes up on your left and they're coming out to an intersection, they have a stop sign, they're going to stop, but when you come up to the stop sign, you automatically look to the left to see if there's any cars coming, because that's where they're going to approach from first. You're not looking to the right, where I am on my scooter, whether I'm on the road or on a sidewalk, and I've almost been hit so many times because of that, if I'm on the road, it's different. People don't look to the right. It's just, I get that, because I'm the same way. I was at a red light years ago with my first car. I was a teenager driving. It was a red light. I stopped at the red light. I'm looking to the left, see if anything's coming as I'm gradually rolling forward, because I'm making a right-hand turn. I'm allowed to turn right at a red light at that intersection. And I heard this weird noise, so I looked over and there's this kid trying to pull his bike out from under my front wheel. So sometime after I stopped, to the point where I was rolling forward, he came out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, it was a blind corner because the building comes right up to the corner, but he just showed up, and obviously he was going to cross, and I ran over the front of his bike. So I understand that completely, why that happens. So that's one of the reasons I don't like to drive on the left. And I'm going to assume that dead fish floating by came from those fishermen that I don't see anymore, because there's a dead fish floating by. That's why I don't fish anymore. I get tired of killing the fish. So, anyways, now for those of you on the other side of the world who drive on the opposite side, we'll say I'm on the right-hand side of the road, and somebody's coming from the right, and they're going to turn to the left. It's the same thing. When they come up to that intersection, they're going to be looking to the right to make sure that, you know, there's nobody coming before they pull out. They're not going to be looking to the left to see somebody on a scooter or even somebody walking. It's the nature of how people drive. So it's unnatural for me, and to me it feels unsafe to be on the opposite side of the road. Now, as far as driving on the sidewalk, there are places I won't drive on the road. There are places I won't drive on the sidewalk because the sidewalks are in such horrible conditions. And everywhere else, it depends on the time of day, the amount of traffic, where it is, the weather conditions. There's a lot of factors. If there's a lot of people on the sidewalk, no matter what people are doing, whether they're walking, biking, rollerblading, skateboarding, whatever, it doesn't matter. I always give right away to everybody. I'll drive onto the grass to give them the sidewalk. I'll drive onto the road to give them the sidewalk, whatever. There's a lot of variables that determine where and how I drive. Now with the Monster, the front suspension on this thing, I'm getting covered in spiders here. It's be coming down from the tree. The way the front suspension is on this, the best way I can explain it is if you have a lawn tractor, the front axle is pivoted in the center, pivoted in the center, and the left side goes up and the right side goes down. It's kind of the same way. Let's say this is your front axle. I can balance this. It's pivoted in the center. If one side goes down, the other side automatically goes up. If the other side goes down, the other side automatically goes up. Both sides will not go down or up at the same time. That's the best way I can explain it. That's the way the suspension is with the Monster. One side goes up or the other. They will not both go up. So if I hit a 1-inch jump between two slabs of concrete on the sidewalk, that is a huge bump for a mobility scooter. And the Monster, it's a solid bounce. There's no absorption of that whatsoever. At least with the ES950, it's got super stiff springs in the front, but it will absorb that shock. The Monster does not. So the Monster itself, I prefer not to drive on the sidewalk at all. Because of that, it's so uncomfortable. It's destroying my bearings, it's destroying my ball joints. The other reason is the Monster's fast. It's average 20 kilometers per hour on a level flat surface. To me, it's too fast for the sidewalk. And especially too fast for those bumps, because those bumps are seriously jarring when you hit them. So that's why I drive the scooter on the road and not on the sidewalk. And then, again, it depends on where I am. Here in town, I do both. Downtown, I'm always on the sidewalk. Along the side of the road here, I drive on the shoulder. Behind the guardrail, I'm driving through the grass. But right now, I'm down on the floodplain here. Drove through the grass here, which is kind of cool. It's really, really bumpy, and I tend to wear some of my coffee. Because usually when I come down here, it's right after I buy my coffee, and it's full, so it's dripping all over me, and it's pretty painful hot. So, but for the most part, it depends on where I am. Sometimes I'm on the road, sometimes I'm on the sidewalk, and again, there's variables that determine that. Funny question. Am I having a midlife crisis? Is that why I bought the Monster? Well, I've actually thought about that. My question is, if you are having a midlife crisis, do you actually know it? You know, are you aware that you are? So I've been thinking about this question. It's possible, because when people ask why I'm doing the things that I'm doing to it, why I'm modifying it for this and that, I want to have fun while I can. My illness gets worse every year. I'm aware of this. And before I get to the point where I absolutely can't do these things, I want to do them. If that's the definition of a midlife crisis, then I guess I am. I don't know. It's quite possible. All I know is I've had a lot of crap happen in my life. I've had a lot of crap jobs. I've had a lot of crap friends, so-called friends. I am at a period in my life where, aside from my illness, I'm in control, for the first time in my life, and I want to enjoy things while I can. Unfortunately, I bought the monster, which has kind of killed a lot of that. I'll get to that part later. But that's it. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy life. So if that's what a midlife crisis is, then yeah, I guess I am. But I'm enjoying it. I'm not buying a Ferrari, chasing after young girls, chicks. I am solitary. I like to be by myself. I am my own person. I have no interest in anyone in a romantic sense. I prefer to live alone. I always have. I can't afford that right now. That's why I'm still with my roommates. My roommate and her kids. Kids are adults now, so I just say roommates now. It's difficult for them to live without my income, and I definitely can't live without the help of them. So we're kind of symbiotic, I guess you could say. But there's no romantic relationship. We're just friends, and that's the way I've always been. That's the way I want to be. I'm not interested in settling down and having a family. That's not who I am. That's not what I want to do. I want to be free. I want to be solo. I just want to have fun and not have to answer to anybody what it is I'm doing, where, why, how, whatever. I just want to have fun. That's me. This illness, when you're used to doing whatever you want to do, and all of a sudden you can't do it, you still try. If it's hard to accept, I still haven't accepted a lot of things I can't do. That's why I torture myself in doing these things, because it never used to be a problem, and I refuse to believe I can't do that anymore until it gets to the point where it's obvious I can't, and it's going to cause a major problem with me. So as long as I can, I'm going to try, and that's what these videos are. This is what I'm doing right now in this period of my life. I'm trying to have fun, struggling with it, but trying, and that is just what I'm doing. That is what the Time Capture YouTube channel is. That is what I am trying to do, and a lot of it, the series I have coming up, the Footsteps Through Time Adventure series, was probably the best period of time in my life. As a photographer, it certainly was. I found normally I do like documentary type photography. I take pictures of plants and animals in my area. I document them, what's here, whatever, I give much information. And eventually that'll be back on my website, my new website that I have up now. Eventually, because there's so much that I need to get done right now that I'm so behind on. But no, that's that. But that started at the beginning of my fibromyalgia, and my style of photography was basically photographing kids being kids. Not, I wouldn't even, I used to say child photographer, I don't say that anymore, because when people think child photographer, they picture a studio, you're taking pictures of kids, with crops or whatever. I don't do that. I am no good at indoor photography. I am no good at studio work. Studio images, okay, they're good for a family portrait, but they're fake. They're not a real memory. Oftentimes they just struggle to get the kids to all be looking at the camera at the same time, not crying, depending on their age or whatever. I don't do that type of work. My studio is the great outdoors. For the most part, I tell the kids to pretend I'm not there. I use a long lens, so I'm not invading their space. They're free to do whatever they want, and that's basically what we were doing. The kids were exploring, they're discovering new things, new creatures, and I caught the memories of that. The emotions are real, the smiles are real, they're not forced, they're not told to smile. A lot of times I ask them not to smile. You know, if I'm actually taking an actual, you know, portrait shot type thing, whatever, and I'll pretend I'm not there. And you will notice once I start the series going up, you will notice that I don't shoot down at the kids. I get down to their level. I'm either shooting straight across at them, or I'm at a lower level and I'm shooting upwards. I prefer to do it that way, because to me, photographing down at kids, unless the only exception I really have to that is if they're doing something and I'm doing a perspective shot, which is what I call, which is taken from behind them so you can see what they're looking at or what they're doing, and you can see what it is that, you know, they're actually doing or looking at, whatever. I call them perspective shots because it's shot from their perspective, but behind them. Now, that's the only exception I really have to shooting down. To me, shooting down means that kids are at a lower level. I don't really know how to explain it. It's like you're looking down at them, like mentally, I guess you could say. So I don't do that. I get down to their level, and what the biggest part, the biggest difference between me and other photographers, in my opinion anyways, is I get involved in whatever it is that they're doing. When you see pictures of kids like on a beach or something, parents taking pictures of their kids out in the water, all you see is water. You know, you see the kid in water. What I was doing when the kids were in the waters, I'd be farther from shore than them, and I'd be shooting back towards the shore, so you can see, you know, the kids aren't just, you know, in the middle of an ocean or something. They're a fair ways from the beach or whatever. You can see the beach in behind. It gives perspective as to what they're doing. And a lot of times I would have the camera right down at the water level, shooting straight across at them, and it's just, to me, it's a superior image to just taking a picture of, you know, a kid surrounded by water. So that's just my style of photography. But we did a lot of exploring through the bush, and it was really difficult to keep up with them. You know, they were 7 and 10 at the time when we first started, so they're able to get through smaller spaces than I was. You know, and me carrying a camera, and a lot of times I was, you know, recording at the same time. So it was a lot of work. It was difficult. So as my illness got more difficult, got stronger, and made it more difficult, then it just got to the point I just couldn't do it anymore. And that's probably the hardest part for me. So it lasted at least 4 years, probably 5, but at least 4 years. Maybe 5, I'm not sure. But towards the end, the last year or two, everything just kind of tapered off. And the kids were interested in more like video games and hanging out with their own friends and that. So it just kind of tapered off. But it didn't really bother me too much, because towards the end they started fighting with each other, they're arguing, and it wasn't fun, and it was getting really difficult for me to do anyways. So it just kind of came to an end. But that, it was the best period of my life, the most fun I've ever had, actually doing something I was good at, doing something I enjoyed, and seeing the results of it. Even today, the memories from it is just, to me, it blows my mind, you know, that I had so much fun. So that's that. Would I buy another mobility scooter? Would I buy another monster? Mobility scooter, yes. Would I buy another monster? No. To keep my language clean, family friendly, just one word: no. I've had so many problems with this. I have an issue right now. I don't know if you've noticed it. You can see rope here. The rope is kind of keeping the roll bar from falling back. My frame is cracked. I'll get into that. I guess, for the most part, it's my fault, but the way the roll bar frame is designed is not a good thing. And when I get to this part of my life in the videos, you'll see, I'll show you what's going on with that. Excuse me. So I've taken off the external batteries. I'm no longer doing that. Now that I'm in Wingham here, I don't need it. I don't need the extra distance. There is a conservation area nearby, Wawanosh Conservation Area, I believe it is. It's a farther distance, but the roads aren't as hilly, so I could probably do it, but I don't trust the monster to do that anymore. So I'm not gonna bother. Last year's experience with my bike kind of made me think I'm not capable of doing that anymore. I might try, because the hills won't wear me out like the other ones did. I might, I don't know. But I need a rear derailleur for my bike, so I can't even try it unless I decide I'm going to fix my bike. I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on yet, but I'm not driving a monster long distance anymore because I just don't trust it. So I'm not using it. I haven't taken the external wiring out yet. It's still there. The battery rack I'm going to keep because it's good for holding purchases and stuff. I like it being there. So I'll keep that. The roll bar extension staying with the spotlight. I'm keeping that. I'm not going to have a second set of batteries. That's the only thing that's going to change. So would I buy another monster? No, and I strongly recommend that you do not either. I have my review video where I praise it and I show everything that I like about it. A lot of things have changed since then, and people are leaving comments that they're going to buy a monster because of that video, and I'm strongly recommending that they watch my other videos. The problems that I've had with it since, you don't have to watch the actual videos, just read the titles of them. The titles themselves or speak for themselves. So, you can base it on that, but I strongly recommend, unless they've changed the newer models, this one's a 2016, unless they've changed the newer models, I would suggest not. So that brings me to, why do I always have a coffee in my hand? Because coffee is a medication, not a prescribed medication, but the medications that I take gives me dry mouth. I don't know if you know what dry mouth is. If you are on any kind of antidepressant, you'll know. There's other types of medications that do. Antidepressants are the biggest ones. Basically what they do is they stop you from producing saliva, and it's called dry mouth. And it's horrible trying to eat. I can't really say it changes the taste of foods and drinks, but it makes it more difficult to eat. I'll tell you, it's not as enjoyable. But the worst thing is, it leaves an aluminum taste in my mouth. And coffee is the only thing that I have found that gets rid of that taste. That's why I call it a medication. I take medications, different medications. One medication I take is to combat the side effects of the other medications. So technically coffee is my medication to take care of the side effects of those medications. So that's why I call it. But it's because I'm always got a coffee doesn't mean I drink a lot of it. I mainly just sip it. All it takes is a sip to get rid of that taste for a while. One coffee can last me 4 or 5 hours or more, depending on what I'm doing, where I am. Unfortunately, I just bought this Timmy's today, and I came down here. I had exactly one sip out of it, set it on the floor of the monster, and when I picked up that stick that I was going to use as the actual explanation, I kicked it over, and no more coffee. So I gotta go buy another one before I go home. So I got exactly one sip of that, and I tell you, my mouth is so dry right now, it's absolutely horrible. So that's why I always have a coffee. It's not always Timmy's. At the most, generally I only buy one each day. Some days I don't even buy one. But I reuse the cups, because when I'm finished with it, I can just throw it in garbage. I don't have to worry about leaving a reusable cup somewhere, which I had a hard problem with. So I reuse the cups, depending on them. These specialty cups, like this one here, is Camp Day. June 6th, advertising. Camp Day. It's where Tim Hortons raises funds to send kids to camp that can't afford to go. That's what that is. That's advertising. Specialty cups like that. The Christmas cups, the roll up the rim cups in February and March. they don't seem to last as long. They seem to be cheaper made. I don't know why. But the regular cups, I can get 5 or 6 uses out of them before they start to leak, which is a good thing. So, because I have a coffee in my hand, a Timmy's coffee doesn't mean it's an actual Timmy's coffee, because it's probably homebrew. 90% of the time you see me with it, it's homebrew. So that explains that. So, now we get back to 1,000 subscribers and what that means. When my channel was demonetized, there's now 3 requirements that you have to have in order to monetize your videos, your channel. 1,000 subscribers was one of them. I was at 800 and something, 832 I think at that time. You have to have a minimum of, I think it was 10,000 channel views, 10,000 or 12,000, I can't remember which. I had 14 at that time, so that was not an issue. But my biggest one now is you have to have 4,000 hours in views, 4,000 hours in the past 12 months. I got a ways to get to that one. So, I have, since I've been demonetized, I haven't done much. The reason for that was I did my special presentation on the June flooding. I was putting out a video a day pretty much, and that took a lot out of me. It wore me out really bad. And demonetization was a real deterrent. It was a serious blow to me. And I had an issue with the monster, which put me in a 4-month depression, which you'll see coming up soon. It's related to the monster in the natural habitat. I had to move, so I'm all settled now, but there's a lot of things that were affecting me all at once. So I was taking a break. I will be coming back soon. I'm so behind in everything. I'm trying to catch up. I'm having issues with my computer. I can't burn discs. I can't read discs. My laptop will not burn discs, will not read discs. I have to go through stuff and delete stuff in order to make room for these new videos. In order to make a YouTube video, I have to copy videos because I don't use the originals. And once I make a video, I keep all the project files. I can't burn them, so they're taking up space. I am this close. I am right on the edge of claiming bankruptcy right now. I'm trying my hardest not to. I think I can recover from this, but when it comes to that point, I'll describe what's going on. I'll explain everything. I can't declare bankruptcy because I require a credit card to get parts for the monster. I require it to pay for my softs and license fees and stuff. And that's what's holding me up right now at this very moment. I need $20. That's it. Just $20 to pay for the licensing for the music that I've used in my new introduction for the monster in its natural habitat series. I can do that video. I can't start that video until I've paid for that license, so that I can use that introduction in these videos. So I'm kind of stuck. So it might be another couple of months. I might do a couple of vlogs, whatever, now and then. Stuff that I don't need a lot of editing on. Like they're ready to go as is, you know, kind of like this one. But I think this one's going to need next. I'm going to show a couple examples, so I'll probably do a little bit of editing with this one. But that's where I'm at right now. So I haven't given up on my channel. I haven't given up on my videos. But I've taken a break, and I'm still stuck in that break until things kind of get worked out. So I wanted to make this update to let you know what's going on. So there you have it. If you have any more questions, ask me. And if I do another, I tend to answer right away. When somebody asks me a question, I tend to answer in the comments right away. Or private message, if that's how people prefer to communicate, that's fine too. But I keep track of those questions. And if I do another question and answer like this, then I'll answer that. So if other people have the same question, and there we go. Because it seems like I'm getting asked a lot of the same questions, so I figured I'd do this. I'm actually talking pretty good today. I'm surprised. I think it's because I believe there's nobody around to hear me. I'm comfortable talking to the camera, so I'm able to talk a little bit better. So that's that. So now I'm going to grab me another Timmy's coffee and head back home, because I ain't sitting here. I'm dressed as lightly as I can. This is the thinnest shirt that I've got, and I am sweating. It's crazy. It's like 32 degrees today. We've been in a serious hot stroke, a serious hot streak the last few days. I'm loving it. It's been in the low 30s. 32 is the highest I've seen, and it's been 2 days in a row. And it's turned the monster on. The monster's saying 36 right now, but the sun's shining on it. The thermometer is inside the front here somewhere, so it's too high. But it's saying 36, and I tell ya, just sitting here, I'm sweating. I feel like it's 36. So I'm loving it. I'm not looking forward to a cold front coming through. Subtropical storm Alberto is heading our way. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, but it's coming from the south, so it's going to bring warm air with it, so I'm not worried about that. But if we have a cold front come down from the north, it's going to end with storms that are the type of storms I'm not looking forward to. I just saw my first hummingbird of the year. Cool. So, but we'll see what happens. You know, take it as it comes. My bedroom window is all screen, 100% screen, top to bottom. So my weather cam videos aren't going to be as good. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. But I'll definitely be doing them anyways. Maybe the lightning will look good to the screen, I don't know. But it's obvious you can see the screen. Hello, Mr. Hummingbird. It'd be nice if you came close on the camera. So, anyways, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. And hopefully I answered most of your questions anyways. Like I say, if I have any more, just let me know. Ask away, and I'll try to get to them. Take care.